you doing? How you doing? How you doing? We had some pretty good football this past weekend. What do you know? The Bills losing to the Chiefs once again. But this is a baseball channel, and we're catching up on everything from this past weekend. We got Blake Snell. We got Jordan Montgomery. We got Cody Bellinger. We got the Orioles and Mike Elias in the news. The Yankees are looking to make even more additions, and there could be one more on the way. And how you doing, everyone? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing, everyone? How are we doing? Man, oh man, a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. We got members, we got moderators, we got familiar faces. How you doing, everyone? Good evening. Good evening. I did not watch any football tonight. I was busy just getting ready for everything here, on my end. So, sorry, I'm a little late tonight. I figured I wanted to wait until after the game tonight. I figured most people are going to be focusing on that. So, when it comes to, my goodness, everything is all messed up over here. I got to fix up some things. I figured, football isn't really my main jam necessarily. And, but I know a lot of people out there, they like the football. So, hey, ever since Brady left, I just can't really, I can't really get into it. Man, I'm having some issues over here. I'm having some issues. Is my microphone going to cooperate with me tonight? I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. How you doing? Welcome. We're getting caught up on all the news from this past weekend. Not really a whole lot. A couple little rumors here and there. We didn't get the Sunday article. All right, with Bob Nightingale today, Heyman didn't really have anything. We got little bits and pieces. We got some stuff from Red Sox winter weekend. There was, the opening event on Friday. We talked a little bit about that on Friday night. And then, there was a couple little other things going on over the weekend as well. So I have a few pieces on that. And, hey, pretty quick, easy show tonight. Nothing painful. But everyone, if you can also, my best friend gave me a brand new desk, and I'm still getting used to it. I mean, look at this. Look, just pay attention to this. Look at this. Hope you're all watching. It can go up and down. I mean, my goodness. I mean, how crazy is that? My goodness, the technology these days, it blows my mind. But I'm still getting used to this new desk. It's bigger. My buttons are farther away. You can see my iPad. I mean, my goodness. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get to it. But before I do get started, the like goal for tonight is 200. It's always 200. If you can help us get there, I will love you forever. And everyone, if you can hit that bell, that will greatly help not just me out, but will help you out as well, just in case I do go live at any time, especially with all these free agents still on the board. You never know what could happen. You never know. I think this coming week, to be completely honest with you, I feel like things are starting to heat up a little bit on the surface and even behind the scenes. I think we could be in store for a busy week. And everyone, if you can, share the show, share anything on the channel as well, and subscribe if you are new. I will get to tonight's sponsor a little bit later. Tonight's show is sponsored by BetUS. Thank you to everyone at BetUS for helping us out here. It's greatly appreciated. Everyone, let's get to it. We have a lot to talk about. So let's kind of get into some things here. We had a bit of an article. Nothing, crazy, again, like I said, by any means, but we had Mark Feinson come up with, a bit of an article this past weekend with Hader off the market. If you were living under a rock, Josh Hader going to the Houston Astros. I think it's a great move. Swingman Lou, thank you so much for the $4.99. I appreciate you, my friend. I'll get to that super chat in just a second. But with Josh Hader now heading to the Astros, we still got a lot of free agents on the board, and you know what? We'll actually go pull up all of these free agents. I mean, we still have three massive names on the board, right, with Snell, Bellinger, Montgomery. I mean, look at these three guys. I mean, my goodness, they're just still sitting there. Chapman is still hanging out. I mean, my goodness, we got JD Martinez, Jorge Soler. Pham is even pretty decent, just in a World Series this past year. Gary Sanchez, I'll get to Gary Sanchez in just a little bit. And Swingman, I'm looking at you in the chat, my friend. Thank you again for that today. And, we still got a lot of free agents on the board, and there's even, some trade possibilities as well. I mean, goodness gracious, we got a lot to go. And so Feinsand, with Hader now off the board, he kind of came up with sort of like a rundown of all the free agents. So since he started with Cody Bellinger, let's start with him first. The widespread belief, according to Mark Feinsand, is that he's just going to end up back with the Cubs. I'm starting to feel that way too. It just feels like with Bellinger, I think those 3 down years probably caused a bit of a hiccup when it came to what teams or how far teams are willing to go for him. Those 3 years definitely decreased his value. I mean, there's no arguing that, right? A good year this past year for Cody Bellinger. I feel like I've shared the numbers a million times at this point. 134 WRC plus, hit over 300, slugged over 500. Very good year for Bellinger on the Cubs last year. But I still think the previous 3 years really diminished his value. I honestly think for Bellinger, you're going to see an AAV somewhere in that 21 to 24 range. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing Bellinger topping that $200 million mark that was reportedly being sought after, which again, hey, if you're an agent, you're going to be looking for that kind of money. That's how good agents operate. And Scott Boras, obviously, the proof is in the pudding. He's made a lot of money over his clients over the years. However, at the end of the day, I think with Cody Bellinger, it does feel like he's probably just going to end back up with the Cubs. I mean, there are some other teams for sure that could definitely jump in. The Angels, I've thought, could be an interesting fit for him, wanting to move Mike Trout. I actually came up with an idea. I don't know. It was not maybe not the flashiest trade idea, and I know Angels fans, you might get on to me about this one, but hear me out here. Let's say Mike Trout, you want to move him more to that left field DH kind of a role, right? Kind of limit that time in the outfield, get him some more DH at bats, get him off his legs a little bit. What if maybe the Angels used Taylor Ward maybe as a trade piece, right? Maybe a team like the Marlins could use another bat. I don't know. Maybe you can go get some pitching for the Marlins. Maybe someone like Edward Cabrera. Maybe someone like Trevor Rogers. Maybe you could work something out there. Taylor Ward, go to the Marlins, get some pitching back in return, move Trout to left field. Maybe you can bring in Bellinger, play some center field. I don't know. Just an idea. Maybe not the best one, but, just something. Maybe they could get creative that way. But really, when you look at all the teams involved, it really does just seem like the Cubs are going to be the best fit overall. We've seen lots of teams, ranging from even the Mariners to the Giants. I thought were a great fit for Cody Bellinger, but then they went and got Lee. And honestly, probably what that was is they probably felt like, you know what? We like Bellinger, but we're not going to go to that price range, and we feel like we're never even going to approach it, so forget about that. Another team that could be interesting are the Toronto Blue Jays, right? That was a team where, a little while back, right, the girlfriend, fiance, I can't remember, but she had posted a picture in Toronto, so people were speculating like crazy, thinking, okay, do we got a little Cody Bellinger to Toronto going on here, possibly, maybe. So I still think they could be in the bidding. I think they're hanging around. That's what my gut says. They're still in the picture. Maybe they're not in the driver's seat. Who knows who's in the driver's seat at this point? But his bat would fit really well. A lefty bat right there. I mean, you could even play him at first base more often. I know you brought back Kiermaier, but you could just have Bellinger at first. He can go play some center field on some days that maybe Kiermaier needs off. Vlad can get some more DH at bats. So I think Bellinger really checks off a lot of boxes, to be completely honest with you. But again, it feels like the Cubs probably, I mean, to me, like I said the other night, don't fix what's not broke, right? So I think the Cubs seem to be the most realistic. But hey, you know what? We've seen Mark Feinstein. We've seen him, we just saw it not too long ago with the Giants with Shota Imanaga. Look at him putting out there. It looked like all signs were pointing to the San Francisco Giants for Shota Imanaga, and they ended up going to the Cubs. So, sure, maybe there's a widespread belief in the industry, but the key word right there is belief. We can believe things. I can believe in pigs flying. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I can believe I'm going to get a pony on my doorstep tomorrow morning. Probably not going to happen, right? So let's just kind of proceed with caution there. Again, it's belief. Just because people around the industry are thinking one thing is going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. So who knows? When negotiations get hot and heavy, things can happen. So we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I'd probably go Cubs and then Blue Jays as the number one options. Maybe the Angels are on the periphery. I don't know, but there's been stuff going on there with money. So I don't know. Let's talk a little. Who does he have next here? We got a little Blake Snell. Let's talk a little Blake Snell, shall we? Let's talk a little Blake Snell because I got some interesting stuff here. I got some interesting stuff, because there is a little something. Now I'm gonna bring in another player into these conversations here, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull this up. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. It was an Instagram post. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me see. Or let me just pull up the tweet that I saw from today. And here we go. So, but I'll get to that in just a second. But let's go to Blake Snell, right? So Blake Snell's market is really interesting. Because as of right now, reportedly, there's only been one offer for Blake Snell. And that's from the Yankees. 5 years, $150. Or sorry, 6 years, $150. I apologize. 6 years, $150. So you're looking at, my phone died, so I don't got my calculator. What is the math on that? Let me pull. I cannot do math in my head. What is that? That is 27 or 25. My goodness, I can't do math in my head. I'm like literally a visual person. So they were going 25 per year. So for him, that didn't really check off the years as well as the AAV. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe it was good for the years, but maybe he was thinking, nah, I want the AAV to be a little bit better than that. So according to the reports, right, he's looking for at least $30 million per year. The only way I see Blake Snell getting that, is if he goes like a 3-year deal, which, who knows? Maybe Snell would be open to that. And you know what? And I always do this. I don't know why I always forget to pull this up. But baseball trade values, I know someone's rolling their eyes probably somewhere right now. But when it comes to Blake Snell, we can look at the projected contract. So baseball trade values has this now. If you sign up for a subscription, you can get 10% off if you use my code HYDE, right? You can use the player value timeline. So if we go take a look here, a 3-year deal, yeah, he can definitely get $30 million per year if he gets a 3-year deal, right? Maybe, who knows? Maybe he can get like $32 million per year on a 3-year deal, right? Maybe you can get like a $96 million, $100 million contract. So maybe you could do 3 years. Maybe you could get the high AAV. Maybe you could come back for like an option or two, something like that. So I would imagine, though, with Snell, probably wants more years, unless maybe you like slap on some vesting options at the end, or player options or club options. I don't know. So that's what I would think. But he definitely could achieve that high AAV if he did a shorter deal. They're projecting if it's a 4-year deal, you're looking at a little under $30 million. But maybe he could do that. Maybe he could do like 4 at $120, and then he can go back out in the market when he's 35. So maybe that's possible. If he were to get a 6-year deal, right, and the Yankees, they were, if 6 years, 150 was the offer, it looks like that was a little bit below, right? And one thing you have to, and a great thing about this tool is you can look at the projected field value for what he's going to produce over the next several years. So this coming year, they're projecting $34.4 million of field value for this upcoming season, which, in other words, that's very good. He could probably even beat that, to be completely honest. And then it's going to go down steadily over the next several years, which historically that tends to happen. So that's where I think teams are a little hesitant because he has had some lower body injuries, right? More of the adductor. So let's see. And I've said this before too. He is a stuff guy first. What's going to happen when he's not throwing with that same stuff, when he's 34, 35? What if that velocity goes down a little bit? This is a guy where I wonder if he's going to have to adjust a little bit over the next several years as maybe that stuff diminishes. We've seen that happen with many guys over the years. One guy that comes to mind immediately to me was Curt Schilling back in the day. Right? Go back to 2007. He wasn't that same Curt Schilling from 2004 where he was like pumping up to, close to, 98, 99. Everything was diminishing with him, and he had to restructure pretty much the way he pitched because he was basically throwing like 90-mile-an-hour fastballs at that point. So, but again, that's a little different. He was getting closer to 40 at that time. Maybe Blake Snell, he's still good, at 35. He's still pumping up the high velocity, still has good stuff. So, I don't know. I'm wondering with Snell, I feel like a 6-year deal. If he turned down 6 at 150, I would imagine you're probably going to see like 6, 170, something like that. Once you get the bidding involved, that sounds probably about right. Or maybe he gets creative and he does a short-term deal. Maybe he does a 3 or like even like, I don't know, probably, yeah, like a 3, like kind of what Trevor Bauer did a few years ago. He did the 3-year, $102 million deal so that we can go back out into the market. So we have seen that in recent years, especially with the younger pitchers. So maybe Snell would be open to that. I would imagine probably like a 5 or 6 year deal, like a 5 with a couple of options, 6 with maybe an option, something like that. But I think you'll end up seeing anywhere from like 26, 28, maybe even gets close to 30 maybe. So we'll see. We'll see. But for Blake Snell, the teams that really come to mind for Blake Snell, really when you think about it, and before I even get into this, I just wonder, how strong is this market for Snell? If this is the only contract offer that he's gotten, I mean, like, what does that say about these other teams? Like, how comfortable are they willing, how comfortable are they with adding, right? With the Yankees, they're ready to go, man. They were ready to just throw some money out there, and they slapped an offer on the table, but, what's going on with the Angels? Sure, we just talked about the Angels here. Could Bellinger be a fit? I don't know, right? Because there was a report not too long ago that Artie Moreno isn't quite sure about selling or not, right? Bally Sports Network is, stuff going on there, so I'm not sure what the TV issue is with the Angels necessarily. I don't know if there is. The Rangers have that. We'll talk about that. But, with the Angels, I don't know. They definitely, after losing Ohtani, they definitely have some money. So Snell, I think, could be a good addition for them. I think they're a perfect fit, to be honest. But what are they going to do with how they spend their money? I don't know. Seems like maybe they don't want to, according to reports and, recent weeks. The Giants. I thought the Giants were a good fit, too. They traded for Robbie Ray. How do they view Blake Snell? I don't know. The Blue Jays popped up at one point for Blake Snell. That felt weird, right? The only way I could see the Blue Jays, could that have been maybe like a leverage kind of a play, right? Maybe they were trying to maybe push the Yankees out of it. Let's say maybe even the Red Sox were, they've been kind of hanging around the picture. Maybe the Blue Jays are trying to maybe up the price so it drives these teams away. Maybe the Mariners have been connected with him. All right, obviously a hometown reunion would be cool. But they have a full rotation. Could they add him? Maybe trade one of those starters, get another piece for the offense. Maybe you could use like Brian Wu or like Bryce Miller. Maybe you can use one of those guys to get like Luis Ariz. You have Josh Rojas projected for second base right now. So could that be something maybe? So I don't know, though. The Mariners, probably not at this point. Maybe. The Mets, they were connected with him. But how far is Stearns willing to go for Blake Snell? He was willing to go as far as he could, along with Cohen, to go get Yamamoto. Is that going to be the same story with Blake Snell, right, who's already over 30? I don't know. It feels like if you're going to add someone at this point, it's probably someone, like if you're going to invest in someone, it's probably like a Yamamoto, right? 25 years old. That makes sense for the current timeline. Snell, how competitive are the Mets going to be this coming year? You have to remember, when you add free agents, you're always looking, I mean, and you can even see the visual that you have right here on your screen. You want to take advantage of the first few years of that contract, because once, like historically, when you get past those first few years, that's when the return, you expect the big return on investment early in the contract, and then you deal with the later half of the contract. Who knows if injuries pop up? That's kind of the nature of free agents. You always want to take advantage of the first few years. So for the Mets, if this isn't really a year where they're fully going, gung-ho for it, where they could be competitive, but are they willing to really push and really go for broke, right? Does Snell really make all that much sense timeline-wise? I would probably say no. The Red Sox are interesting. I know. Draftnik Robbie is here, everyone. Draftnik Robbie's here. But no, I mean, the Red Sox are interesting because it's the same thing as the Mets, right? Where they're not fully quite there yet. Their prospects aren't quite ready. However, I'll tell you right now, what winter weekend this past weekend, there are people, once again, another year, not happy. Right? Not happy because it feels like you're not putting your best foot forward, because the difference with the Mets and the Red Sox is the Mets already have a massive payroll. That is a big difference between the two. They are already so over it, and they're going to be paying so much in taxes, whereas the Red Sox are under the CBT. So there's a difference there. The Red Sox have room to work with. They could trade Kenley Jansen, get rid of even more payroll, have more flexibility under the, perceived budget this past weekend. It was also said that the Red Sox, Sam Kennedy said, probably going to be even a lower budget this year for the Red Sox. What does that even mean? I don't know. Is he just speculating? Is it more where it's set at 225 and he's maybe thinking they're not going to add? Maybe he's trying to be hush-hush, so he doesn't want to give anything away. I don't know. Who knows what he even meant by that. But if it's going to be 225 or lower, you trade Jansen, you could make some room for someone like Snell, and he could help you over the next few years. Because the thing with the Red Sox is they do have a team that can compete. And same thing with the Mets. The Mets could compete too. The difference, again, though, with the Mets is their payroll is near $300 million, and they're going to have to start clearing some of that off at some point. So there's a difference. Zach G, I am not saying that they're going to get him. I'm painting a picture here for everyone, not just my Red Sox. I'm painting a picture for the Mets. I'm painting it for the Yankees. I'm painting it for the Blue Jays, the Mariners, right? Going through all the options out there. There's a chance, I would say, maybe the Red Sox could do it. Probably not, though. Probably not. Because, I don't know, how far are they willing to go? If Snell wants the years, they don't seem like they're really willing to give out the years, unless they maybe do something creative. I will say this, though. There was a little something. Swingman Lou, if you're in the chat, thank you for presenting this to me today. Came out here. I think it was reported by actually last week a Spanish outlet or a Latino outlet. I can't remember exactly. It was on Instagram. I can't remember what the account was called. I couldn't find it. But there is an account out there. I don't know how accurate this account is, but there is something about Gary Sanchez to the Red Sox that's kind of out there right now. I don't know how accurate that is. I've been told a couple of things that, yeah, that could be true. Yeah, I will always, if people want to tell me things, I'm always open to hear it. But of course, I am still one of those where, yeah, I can hear this from this person, this from this person. It's fun at the end of the day. But at the same time, I do proceed with caution because I wait for passing. That's how I am. But Gary Sanchez, Red Sox, there's been some kind of a connection. Nothing majorly reported by any of the big outlets, but there's just stuff out there about Gary Sanchez to the Red Sox. Not like a finalized deal or anything, but there could be a connection. But the reason I bring this up with Blake Snell is because that was Snell's catcher. So the one reason you could bring in Gary Sanchez, which when you look at the bat, if they're looking for a right-handed bat with some pop, yeah, Gary Sanchez is absolutely going to fit the bill. If that is true, I think that's a great addition if the Red Sox do that. I said my stuff about Gary Sanchez, over the last few years. But, the guy's defense has improved a bit over the last couple of years. He's got a great arm, right? There's still some clunkiness back there. He's not going to be the best catcher out there. But with Gary Sanchez, a .492 slugging last year. But, looking at the splits, when you look at what he did against left-handers last year, he was so good. Hit .267, 9 home runs against lefties last year. Looking at the WRC+, he had a .162 WRC+ against left-handed pitching last year. So, if the Red Sox were to add Gary Sanchez, that would make some sense because here's the thing with Duvall, right? Duvall, he's an outfielder. And they already have a lot of outfielders. You just brought in O'Neill basically to replace Duvall. And then Justin Turner, yeah, that could work. But, Turner really is basically just going to be a backup first baseman and a DH. Now, that's fine. That could work, obviously. But with Gary Sanchez, you could also just make him, Yoshida can be more of that DH. And then against lefties, you could have Sanchez be the DH against lefties, and then Yoshida, what do you do with him? I don't know. You could put him somewhere else. I don't know, whatever the lineup is or whatever the matchup is that day. I don't know. But Gary Sanchez could fill that right-handed bat void that the Red Sox have. And, hey, and he's always hit well at Fenway Park. I could see that. So, again, maybe there could be a connection with Blake Snell there. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. If Blake Snell worked really well with him last year, maybe the Red Sox think, okay, hey, Gary Sanchez, we'll keep some interest in you. Maybe, who knows if he's even their first option. Maybe he stays connected, or maybe the Red Sox stay connected with Sanchez, and if they somehow, some way land Snell, well, then they go get Gary Sanchez, his personal catcher. So I'm just saying, man, it's very interesting that the Red Sox are linked with Snell and Gary Sanchez. So, yeah, you can say they're not going to land him. That's fine. I'm not fully confident that they're going to land him. So, Blake Snell, his contract is going to be very interesting. I think he probably ends up getting like 6 years, 170 or like 175 or something like that. As for Jordan Montgomery is another interesting one out here. Now, across the industry, it feels like he's probably just going to go back to Texas. The Rangers seem to make the most sense when you look at everything, right? They need pitching, just won a World Series with them, seem to really enjoy his time there. It's no surprise to me that Jordan Montgomery would be the number one option, or the Rangers would be his number one option, and the Rangers would love to have him back, and I've said this a million times. The problem with Jordan Montgomery and the Rangers is the TV money. Yes, the Rangers are going to be getting some help this coming year. That's great. But it's up in the air when it comes to next year, the year after that, the year after that. What are you going to do about the TV stuff then? You got to think about that. Yeah, they will definitely get a chunk of change for 2024. But what about 25? So that's where it's a little iffy with Jordan Montgomery. If the Rangers can come up with the cash, sure. I mean, why not? If we go look at the Rangers' payroll as of right now, so they were just over the CBT in 2024, but now they've had some money come off, right? So if we go down here, they are still a little under that CBT, all right? They're at 231.9. Let's just say 232. So if they bring Montgomery back, he is going to very well push them over that CBT. And do they want to go over that CBT again for a second straight year? You have to keep that in mind. They barely went over it last year. Do they want to go over the CBT again and then pay more of the taxes? You will have Scherzer come off the books, but remember, I think the Mets are paying like most of that. I believe. I think they're paying most. So the Mets are paying like $30 million of it. So the Rangers are only going to be on the hook for like, what, 13? You got DeGrom on the books. Seager's on the books for a while. Semien. Evaldi has a vesting option. So, yeah, Scherzer will come off. That'll help a little bit. You know, Heaney will come off. That'll help. So I think it's a very interesting question. If you have Montgomery on your roster this year, you're going over that CBT again. And then you're going to have to pay more taxes. And with TV money up in the air, is that something the Rangers really want to do? I don't know. I don't know their financial situation. I don't know what these guys are thinking back there. But then you got to think in 2025, right? So if you have Scherzer, like the $13 million coming off the books, and then you get, Evaldi's a vesting option, so who knows, right? So he needs 300 innings pitched between. I mean, he could get that if he's healthy this year. Heaney's 13, so there's 26, and then you got Leclerc. I mean, what are you going to do with him? You're going to bring him back? What are you going to do? Kirby Yates. So yeah, you're going to have around like 25, 30 million come off. So if you're at 231 now, 232, you add Montgomery for, say, 26. Well, that's 258. And then you're still going to be right around that CBT next year, unless you move some money. So I don't know, man. Yeah, on paper, it makes sense for Montgomery to go back to the Rangers. But it's not just about the player salaries here, right? It's also about that CBT. So that's something to think about, right? So I don't necessarily think the Rangers are an absolute slam dunk. I really don't. I will give them the edge until someone else signs them. But I don't know, man. I don't know. The Yankees were connected with him. But it seems like the Yankees, I don't know, man. The way I look at the Yankees, are they really going to add Jordan Montgomery? I mean, come on. Your payroll is already over $300 million. It's at 305. You just added Stroman. I mean, come on. Like, I don't see the Yankees doing this. And to me, the way I see it, if the Yankees viewed him a certain way before, are they really going to change all that much now that he's, 31? Right? I mean, I don't think the Yankees are really going to be anything crazy for him. I think the Phillies are interesting. But the problem with the Phillies is you already have a payroll over 250. You got so many contracts on the books. You got Wheeler coming up on free agency. I think at some point, and you just signed Nola long term. So I don't know. I think the Phillies on paper make a lot of sense because he could be a guy that could help you win a World Series, but I don't know. The Angels, I don't know. Like, there hasn't really been anything crazy with the Angels, and it seems like they're connected more with Snell. I haven't heard much on Montgomery. The Giants, yeah, they got money, right, but they brought in Race, or I don't know. Is that really Montgomery's more of a guy to me? He kind of, he's more of a strike thrower kind of a guy, not a big stuff guy. So I don't know, like, what do the Giants think about that with Montgomery? Not quite sure. I haven't seen any connection with them. John Heyman did bring up the Cubs at one point. Yeah, they could comfortably add him. They're at 198 right now. But you just added Imanaga, and looking at the rotation, it's looking pretty full. Maybe you could put Wicks in like a long relief kind of a role, and maybe Montgomery can be your 2, right? Steele and Montgomery at the top there. So I don't know. But I don't know. The Cubs, I think, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. There was something. Buster Olney was told recently that people are thinking the Cubs are going to make some big moves. So maybe they could add. I mean, Bellinger seems like the most logical one. But could that also mean maybe Snell or Montgomery? I don't know. To me, when I look at this rotation, to be honest with you, am I the only one that I feel like it's an okay rotation? I don't know. Like Hendricks, like, I don't know. He doesn't. I like Hendricks, but he doesn't really excite me. I see a 4. Tyone as your 2. I just don't. I don't like it. Imanaga's unknown. Wicks, I think, is more of a high floor guy. So I don't know. I feel like the Cubs could do something with this rotation even more, but I don't know if they want to. So I don't know. And then I'm sorry to say it, but coming back to my Red Sox, I just think they make so much sense. The only problem is it's the years and the money. Are they willing to do it? Right? And I said this on Friday. I was told that Montgomery, after, talking with other teams, reached out to the Red Sox after talking with teams, right? Or a team. I'm not quite sure of that exact detail. I was told he reached back out to the Red Sox and said, hey, this is what I'm getting, right? This is what my situation is looking like. What can you do? I was told that. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what I was told, right? There is mutual interest there, pretty much. I mean, I buy it because his wife is in Boston right now. So, and I will say this too. At Winter Weekend, like I said, people were really giving it to Breslow and Kennedy on that stage. They were. It's very obvious that they need to add something, right? Andrew Bailey, pitching coach, he was talking, this past weekend saying, yeah, he likes the guys. He doesn't necessarily think they have to add anyone. But of course he's going to say something like that. Because if he says anything otherwise, he's not showing respect to the guys that he already has. I think he absolutely respects what the Red Sox have. Probably thinks he can get way more out of them. But when you're a coach, right, you have to talk about what you have. You don't talk about what you don't have. You talk about what is right there in front of you. Because if you talk about things that you don't have, well, then you're shortchanging the guys that are there, right? So, yeah, that would be a bad look on Bailey if he said, yeah, I think we need to add another guy. Yeah, I feel like based off the group we have, probably need to add one more pitcher. Because how's if Brian Bayo hears that, he's going to be like, what? Like, okay, all right, well, screw this guy. Okay, he says we need to add a guy? Like, no, he's not going to say that. He's like, and people were like overreacting to that today. It's like, come on, like, can we use our heads, please? Like, I have a potato for a brain. Come on. Just if I got a potato for a brain, come on, people. We got to think about this, right? So, I just think the Red Sox make a ton of sense if they are willing to go those years. I don't know. That's the only thing. I was told personally the Red Sox are not looking to budge from 3. The 3 years is right now, like where they're at. And I don't see Montgomery or Snell taking 3 years. Maybe the Red Sox could budge a little bit and maybe go to 4. But I don't know. Well, I mean, here's the thing. If they did a 4-year deal, either Snell or Montgomery, they would go back out on the market at 35, right? And we've seen guys at 35 go back out on the market. You can still go find some deals, go get paid, right? So I think the Red Sox would be willing to go 4, maybe. It depends. Depends on the money. There's a lot of things. And I will say this with Blake Snell. If they did add Snell and then you added Sanchez and then traded Jansen, you could still be around like that 220, 225 budget. So we'll see. We will see. For Jordan Montgomery, I will give the Rangers the edge, but because he wants to go back there. It's pretty obvious that he wants to go back there, but I think he sees the Red Sox as like the next best place because his wife is already there, right? So we'll see. Then when it comes to Blake Snell, I'll be honest, like I've been saying this from the get-go. He's always seemed like a West Coast guy to me. He likes the West Coast. That's what we've seen in reports. The Angels seem to be the best fit because I feel like they would be the team that's willing to go the years and the money for him. So we'll see. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like that's the best fit for him. Cody Bellinger. I think the Cubs. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know, man. But I do think it's going to heat up a little bit this coming week. I really do think that. I think we're going to start seeing some action. It's been way too quiet. Way too quiet. So, who knows? Who knows? But, everyone, real quick, we just have to get to our sponsor for tonight, and that is BetUS. It is your number one stop for all your sports betting needs. If you were paying attention to the footballs this past weekend, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, there were so many different ways that you could have bet when it came to all the football games. There's so many different kinds, just all like different stat categories, scores. Like it was just off the charts, like how much you could actually do. But now that that's over, you're going to have to wait until next weekend when we get the conference championship games, right? So now it's going to be the Chiefs and the Ravens, and we got the Lions and the 49ers. Never would I have thought the Lions would be in a championship game. Man, who was the guy that the Lions drafted like number 1 or number 3 overall back in the day? Who was that again? Like Kyle Harrington? Was that the name? The Lions had so many down years. So many down years. I'm just saying. But yeah, you'll have a lot of bets coming up for that next weekend. I am sure that BetUS is going to have some promotions for that. So definitely be on the lookout. We got basketball every single night. We even got Premier League stuff going on. Ice hockey at the moment. Take your pick. Take your pick. When it comes to baseball right now, if you were to go drop some bets, I actually already put some bets down for AL and NL MVP for next year. So got ahead on that because I'm feeling pretty good already. But right now, you got all the futures picks. You got the divisions. You got the pennants, right? They even have some specials for futures, right? We got all of these right here where blank team makes the playoffs. Maybe I could bet on my Red Sox making the playoffs. You know what? Let's actually see here. What would the odds be for my Red Sox to make the playoffs? Let's see. So the Red Sox are at plus 250 to make the playoffs. That's not terrible. It's not awful. But definitely go check out BetUS, everyone. There's a whole bunch of different ways to play. They even got live betting as well. The link is in the description down below. You get a 125% bonus. They have great customer service as well if you ever need help with anything. So thank you, BetUS, for sponsoring today's show. But let's get to a couple other pieces. We had a little something on the Baltimore Orioles. Mike Elias, he's looking for a deal, everyone. He's looking for a deal. He's looking. But the problem that Mike Elias is running into, and I'm talking about you, Chicago White Sox, Chris Getz, talking to you. That's the problem that he's been running into, is that, simply put, teams are just asking for too much, right? And a National League executive told Mark Feinsand that the White Sox are not budging on price, and teams don't seem to have interest in paying that price. So if we were to go take a look at Dylan Cease, right? Dylan Cease. What do we got? Okay, I don't know what's happening. Dylan Cease. So right now, his trade value currently sits, as of January 21st, you're looking at around $42.4 million of trade value, right? So with Cease, by the time you get to the trade deadline, right, there's not really much remaining value, or compared to trading for him now, you're not going to be getting as much value in return, because obviously he would have picked for the White Sox for the entire first half. So you would like to have Cease now. One problem with Dylan Cease is that his numbers have been slightly dipping the last couple of years. So I wonder if teams are really thinking like, do we really want to go, really crazy where we're giving up a top prospect? And keep in mind, too, it's only 2 years, right? Now, if it's, say, 3 years, 4 years, then yeah, I could see a team wanting to give up some top prospects. So as for the Orioles, John Heyman was saying that Baltimore does not want to part with Jordan Westburg, right? He was very good in 2023. So let's actually pull up here what the Orioles are looking like for 2024. And Jordan Westburg, yeah, he will absolutely have a home as of right now. He is slated to be the second baseman as of right now. So when it comes to the Orioles, man, I thought, could you trade Westburg? You could figure it out at second base. You got Connor Norby there. He's been doing well in the minor leagues. Maybe he can come up at some point. But Jordan Westburg is ready to play right now. And when you take a look at the other prospects, Jackson Holliday's not going anywhere. Kobe Mayo, maybe in the right deal, they could do him. I don't see Kobe Mayo being a piece for Dylan Cease. I just don't. His value is just through the roof. Now, could you maybe do a package of Joey Ortiz? Maybe you could do Dylan Beavers, Connor Norby, right? If we were to put together a trade without Jordan Westburg, Colton Cowser, or Jackson Holiday, right? It kind of gets a little interesting at that point, especially, with what the White Sox are looking for. Now, if they bring their asking price down, sure. All right. And another name that's come up in talks as well, in the trade market in general, right, is Sam Basallo. This is a kid, man, who's been raking it down in the minor leagues. This bat is phenomenal, right? That's a name you want to pay attention to for this coming year, is Samuel Basallo. So keep an eye out for him. If I were to actually pull up some stats here with him, Samuel Basallo. Taking a look. So last year in Double-A and then A-ball, A and high A, the guy was just raking, man. He was 18 years old last year. And in A and high A, he had 20 home runs at 18 years old. Are you kidding me? In high A last year, he had a slugging of 688, an on base of 443, a WRC plus of 195. What in the heck? What is going on? He was 18. He was just killing it. The thing with Basallo is he going to have a home as a catcher long term? Or at some point down the road, he could end up just being a first base DH. I mean, the dude is just killing it so far. So I think the Orioles would only trade him if the price is right. So I don't see Basallo going in a Dylan Cease trade. And another thing, too, is that the Orioles, they got a lot of outfielders coming up on free agency soon. Santander is 1 year away from free agency. Cedric Mullins is going to be coming up at some point. And then after 25, so he's got 2 more years. Santander has 1 year. Austin Hayes has 2 more years. So I think with the Orioles, if they're an organization that's not really spending all that much money, are they really going to part with Kjerstad, who was their first pick a couple of years ago? They're not going to get rid of Cowser. So really, what do the Orioles, realistically, if they're not going to be adding any big free agents, what are the Orioles willing to do? Right? I mean, really, when you think about it, maybe Kobe Mayo or Basallo could be some pieces. Maybe Basallo, very young, maybe you could sell high on him, right? Because the defense is limited. But then Kobe Mayo, I mean, I could see one of those two possibly being dealt, but not for Dylan Cease. Maybe if you did like a Jesus Luzardo trade, maybe you could do that because that's 3 years of Jesus Luzardo. So that's a little different. Maybe you could put DL Hall. But the problem with the Orioles is they don't have a lot of pitching in their organization. So maybe DL Hall is someone they don't really want to part with. I could see Joey Ortiz. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Joey Ortiz, Dylan Beavers, Connor Norby, Jude Fabian. So if we put together, maybe a package of these guys, maybe Joey Ortiz, I don't know. And that might not even be enough to get him. Maybe if they were willing to part with DL Hall, maybe. But and throw in Connor Norby. I mean, but that you're getting a little close with this. You're getting a lot of position players back. So, I don't know. You're getting Fabian, Beavers, Ortiz, and Norby, which I think is a pretty decent package overall. But is that someone or a package that someone like Chris Getz would want right now, where he's trying to maximize? I think what ends up happening, I think another reason is for this too, is because Dylan Cease, his value will come down at the trade deadline. And I've been saying this for a little while now. You could hang on to him, which is risky because if he gets hurt, well, then you're screwed, right? But if he's healthy, doing well at the deadline, no matter what, his value is coming down because you have less Dylan Cease, right? So combine the market, teams willing to overpay a little bit. It's still going to come back to what it is like right around now. Maybe you get a little bit higher, but is it really going to be that much? So I don't know. I just don't think it's really going to make all that much of a difference. So that's why I think he probably just ends up hanging on to him, because you're probably going to get maybe close to the same as what you would get now. But who knows? Maybe if at this point he's like, you know what? I'm not liking what's out there. We'll just revisit it at the trade deadline. But then the problem with that as well, it's not that you're just hanging on to him, right? And not maximizing, giving him to a team for 2 years. The problem there is you really paint yourself into a corner at that point, right? Because then at that point, I feel like you're basically just losing leverage at that point, because now I feel like you have so much more leverage than you would at the deadline. Yeah, and then people will say, oh, well, Robbie, what if he's pitching really well? But everyone knows that, I just don't think it's negotiation-wise, whereas, yeah, maybe a team at the deadline, they're looking at, Cease. Let's say he's having a really good year. They're looking for around the same package that they're asking for, now, the same value. But maybe a team is like, no, we don't want to give all that up, right? We'll just go somewhere else, right? We'll find another guy, right? So I just think the White Sox right now, they're not helping themselves. I just think if you wait till the deadline, you're just boxing yourself into a corner. And at that point, you're basically just going to have to accept the best offer. And that best offer might not even be close to what it is now. It could be, maybe, but you don't know. So I don't know. That's enough Dylan Cease. But maybe the Orioles, honestly, I think if they could somehow go to the Marlins and go make something happen with them, I mean, that to me, that's a picture for 3 years I'd be willing to part with. Or I'd be willing to part with some decent prospects. You know, like Kobe Mayo. I think you could work a package around Kobe Mayo or even Basallo, maybe, like one of those guys. Like you could work a package around one of them, which is a really good bat that the Marlins could use, right, for their future. While for the Orioles, they get Jesus Luzardo for the next 3 years, right, while they're in this competitive window. I think Luzardo makes so much more sense from a fit point of view, not just stat-wise, ace-wise in your rotation. I'm talking about like time frame-wise, competitive window-wise, right? So 3 years of Luzardo and your team just won 100 games, this is the perfect time to add a guy like that. You are in your window right now. Cease you got for 2 years. Luzardo you got for 3. So I say you go to the Marlins, go offer Mayo or Basallo, and go bring back Luzardo. I think that would be massive, right? We'll see, but the Orioles are looking to make something happen. And the Yankees, of course, the Yankees are always looking to make something happen. So when it comes to Brian Cashman, he was on, what was this, Saturday, or Sirius XM radio, on the MLB Network radio. He was talking today saying, yeah, we're going to be open-minded. We're still looking at things. Our payroll's already over 300, but we're still looking to make some noise. The one thing the Yankees could do is they could possibly add something for the bullpen. And one guy that they have actually been connected to, is Hector Neris, right? And so we actually had an article here on NewJersey.com from Randy Miller. And actually, this is from Carlos Baerga. He tweeted on X saying that rumor has it that the Yankees are about to sign Hector Neris to a contract. So I think this actually does make some sense. Let's see what that contract would actually be. Let's go back to the timeline. Let's go do it. Let's see. What is a contract for Neris maybe looking like? I would imagine maybe it's like a 2-year deal, 3-year deal. Neris, how old is he again? He's like 31. He's 34. Wow, goodness. He's 34. So maybe like a 2-year deal. Maybe something like that. So maybe like a 2-year, like 15. Maybe go a little higher than this. All right, so he's projected for about $6.4 million of field value, 5.8. So yeah, I would say probably like 2-year, 15 maybe, something around that. There has been a market for him. The Rangers have been connected with him as well. But I think if the Yankees add Neris, that's going to be a big arm for their bullpen. Had a 1.71 ERA last year, over 71 games. FIP of 3.83. I mean, my goodness, 10 strikeouts per 9. Still has pretty decent stuff. His velocity did go down a little bit this past year compared to 2022. But still, Neris, he's been a very consistent reliever going back to 2019. All right, so, yeah, for the Yankees, that would be a good piece to add for them if we're looking at their current bullpen. So, yeah, Hader was an option that was kind of floating out there for a little while, but obviously going to the Astros now. I guess I didn't see that from the get-go. The one thing with the Yankees is they had a great bullpen last year. And if you add Neris to this mix, well, then the back end of the bullpen is looking really good. Holmes, Loaisiga didn't pitch all that much last year, but Loaisiga, he's very solid. You know, Canely, add Neris in there. I think that's a really solid bullpen, to be completely honest with you. So be on the lookout for this. It's looking like the Yankees and Hector Neris could be closing in on a deal, according to Carlos Baerga. But everyone, I am hoping we get some more moves this coming week. And one move that will be made is tomorrow. tomorrow, I believe tomorrow morning, I need to confirm, I believe 11 a.m. tomorrow. And Red Sox fans, I need you to listen to this one. Maybe Yankee fans too. Red Sox reporter and the host of the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast, Rob Bradford, will be coming on the Barreled Up podcast live here on the channel, right? Jim, Ballcap Sports, he's going to be joining us as well. We obviously host the show together now, but we're going to be talking about just some good old Red Sox, baseball, whatever news with Rob Bradford, one of the top reporters in the game. So come check that out. We should be live with that, I think, 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Got to confirm that, but just make sure you're on the lookout tomorrow morning. So, and if you do miss it, catch the replay later on. But we will be talking about some stuff with Rob Bradford. So, Red Sox fans, you want to join. You're going to want to join. Everyone, I'm out of here for tonight. Thank you for stopping by. And actually, really quick, we did have a couple of Super Chats. I think we had 2 Super Chats. And let's actually get to those real quick. And what do we got? What do we got? Also, everyone, you know what I did? I invested in a new computer. New computer will be debuting on the Robbie Hyde Show hopefully this week. I think I'm getting it in a couple days. So, a little faster. Pretty excited for it. Pretty excited. But Swingman Lou, thank you for the super chat. $4.99 Swingman Lou. We had Twitter jumping with the Gary Sanchez rumors to Boston. Keep lifting heavy. Oh, man, that felt good, man. Thank you for that. Felt good to start. I've always been terrible at bench press, and my goodness, last year I hurt my neck. I had a herniated disc in my neck, and I lost a lot of strength in my right arm. So, yeah, back to benching. It's getting there slowly but surely, but thank you for that. Let's see if Gary Sanchez ends up coming to the Red Sox. Let's see. Maury's Life, $1.99. When is Pat Clapman going to sign with the Giants? It's got to happen sooner or later, right? If not the Giants, it's got to be the Cubs. Got to be. All right, it's going to be one of those two teams, I would think. But everyone, if you can, on the way out, hit that like button for me. Really does help out with the algorithm. And if you can, share the show for the people that missed the replay. Make sure the bell's turned on. Subscribe if you're new. Have yourself a great night, everyone. Hopefully we get some good stuff this coming week. I think we're going to get some signings this week. I'm feeling it in my bones. I feel like we need something. I think it's going to happen. So make sure you're staying tuned. Everyone, have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.